my dear friends. This is the way I'm going to begin tonight. I'll be glad. It's been a pretty good day, just very, very rushed. There's been a lot happening, and a lot of people in Grenada were pretty tense earlier on today. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. I mean, sometime this morning, there was an email, a notice being circulated that the Prime Minister would be delivering an address to the nation at 12:30, okay? That came out this morning, I would imagine sometime after 10 o'clock or so, okay? Well, you can well imagine, I think a lot of people were speculating that the Prime Minister would be making an announcement that, the first case of corona has arrived in Grenada. The reason I think there was so much speculation is because it was just this past week. He was at a post-cabinet briefing, right? And to be back this soon, I think left a lot of people on edge. Well, yes, this statement was scheduled for 12:30. At about 12:45, I'm sitting here, still no statement shows up on the GIS site. And on my WhatsApp forum, people are curious, where's the statement? So I decided, hey, I pick up the phone, call the GIS and see, Wago? Call the GIS. Oh yes, there's been a slight delay and it's going to be coming out very shortly. Yeah, okay. So I put up on my website, I put up everywhere that the statement's going to be a little bit late. 1 o'clock, Papa, ain't seen nothing. Nothing. Hello there, just hanging. Yeah, still nothing from the GIS. So eventually I think it came out between 1:05 and 1:10. We're not going to run that for you tonight, but it's up on my website, GrenadaBroadcast.com. You can go check it out there. Tonight, I think everything is going to focus, well, not everything, but most of our talk tonight is going to be on the virus. And we also are going to touch on the situation we have developing with Grenada. Have you guys been following that? If you haven't, I think you need to start. And I'm sure that my colleague here, Mr. Pitt, who is just very quietly sauntered in, will have a lot to say about that. Let's find out if he went to that consultation. You know, they've been having these consultations. And I understand that there's been a turnabout face. I'm not going to go into it. We will let Mr. Pitt share that with you. Okay. So yes, Brian's going to be joining us, and he's not joining us electronically today. He's actually sitting right here with me, and I am so honored to have him in the audience tonight. I mean, sitting right here in the flesh. Can you imagine, Mr. Pitt? I also want to share something with you very briefly about the Guyana elections. I received a joint statement today, and let me read that verbatim for you, okay? The Ambassador of the United States of America, Her Excellency Sarah Ann Lynch, the British High Commissioner, His Excellency Greg Quinn, the Canadian High Commissioner, Her Excellency Lillian Chatterjee, and the Ambassador to the European Union, His Excellency Fernando Ponce Canto, decided to leave the Region 4 tabulation process this morning, as it was clear that a transparent and credible process was not put in place by the responsible officials. Tough wording, pilgrims. Further, we are concerned about intimidation tactics we observed against those seeking to ensure that a credible process is followed. Text. We must be clear that in the absence of a credible process, as directed by the Honorable Chief Justice, It is our view that any results for Region 4, which will impact the overall results of the March 2nd elections, will not be credible, and a president sworn in on the basis of those results will not be considered legitimate. Got your sleeves rolled up? Oh, George, don't show those arms. You need some sun. We are all long-standing friends of Guyana, whose countries have supported its development over the decades. The betterment of Guyana and its people has always been our interest. In that spirit, we urge all parties to not do anything which could lead to Guyana's isolation. And people mean business, pilgrims. That sounded to me like a threat. Yeah? I'm sure Mr. Pitt will have a comment on that. The other thing I wanted to mention, I received a call from a cousin in, I think she's in New Jersey, last night, in a panic because she heard that the St. George's University has been closed. Really? Really? There we go again, lying through our teeth. Can't help it, can we? Can't help it. St. George's University has not been closed. But the faculty, the management, that they have asked students, if it's still possible, we suggest that you try and get home, and we will even help you. They're hiring 737s to get these kids back to the States if they need that help, okay? But the university has thousands of people, and one of the key suggestions for avoiding the virus is that you stay away from large crowds. And so they're trying to reduce the student population down there, and as a result, hopefully get people off the island. Well, some Grenadians have decided to start spreading the rumor SGU closed down. Folks, you know what a knuckle sandwich is? These people need some of those. It is so disgusting, and it's only one of the rumors out there. If you don't know the facts, just damn it, stop and ask questions. Huh? Anyway, I'm sure that Mr. Pitt will have something to say about that as well in just a wee bit. Right now, it's 8 minutes after the hour. And, oh, by the way, how dare you, George? He forgot the national report. We're going to give Mr. Pitt priority over the national report tonight. And he's going to precede the national report. What I'm going to do right now is just take a quick little break here, and then we will say good evening to Mr. Pitt, who is sitting here in the flesh.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Conveniently located in the Grandand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenadians will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep,
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy.
We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us
As we energize our Spice Island.
Renlec, energizing our Grenada.
Can't wait to see my granddaughter.
All right, there he is, Mr. Brian Pitt. Let's get his microphone on so you can hear him. How are you, sir? How are you doing?
I am great. I'm great, George.
You great?
Yeah, you taking away my Friday night.
Yeah, can you imagine? I mean,
It could be a good thing, huh?
Yeah?
Yeah.
What would you be doing on a Friday night if you were at home then?
If I was what?
If you were at home right now, what would you be doing?
Why would I be home on a Friday night?
Okay, I get it. Yeah, George is a little bit slow here. I'm a little bit slow. Okay, Brian. Okay.
Thank God it's Friday, George.
Thank God it's Friday. Yeah, man.
Yeah. You get to let your hair down.
Oh,
Meet some people.
We're not going to be here for long. Just an hour. It's 9:15. You'll be out of here.
Yeah,
Quarter after 8.
Yeah, but now you're telling me I have to recognize social distance.
Yeah. You know, it would be interesting to see, what happens tonight at the hot spots around town. Because who was it I had in here? I think it was Brian, not Brian, it was Alan yesterday, who was saying Alan went to one of the supermarkets and was just overwhelmed.
Yeah, people are panic buying.
Yeah, they are.
Again, it's the access to social media and television. Because people in North America kind of panic buy, So we kind of follow suit, And we buy whatever they buy. So they're buying toilet paper, and we buying toilet paper,
And you had to bring up the toilet paper. Listen,
no, but listen, there is a logic to the toilet paper, The logic to the toilet paper is toilet paper is cheaper than tissue. So you can use the toilet paper on both ends. George, you're laughing. This is factual. 2 sheets of toilet paper, you blow your nose and you throw it away.
Yeah.
It's cheaper than a sheet of tissue that you buy in a little box that is expensive.
The things you learn here. Brian, have you seen some of the stuff that's going around in social media about this buying up toilet paper?
George, I deleted Facebook from my phone.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Well, it's not
A
just
conscious decision.
Yeah.
About 2 or 3 months ago.
Okay.
Because
I don't blame you.
No, I deleted it. You know, I did one search one time for an article on Amazon or wherever, and every time I open my phone now, this search came back to me. I decided, you see this? Shut down Facebook.
Yeah. I've been thinking along those lines as well, but we'll see what happens. Well,
Yes.
let me share with you some of the stuff. First of all, there was a video going around with 3 women in a supermarket engaged in a fist. I'm talking cough. A fist fight over toilet paper.
Yes.
That was one. Then I saw another little joke that was sent out, and the person was suggesting that the reason why there seems to be a shortage of toilet paper is because every time, I don't know how to say this politely, every time one person sneezes, 100 people poop.
I prefer my explanation, George. Toilet paper is a lot cheaper than toilet tissue that we buy in a pretty little box to blow our nose. You know, we take 1 sheet out of the thing and we blow the nose. With toilet paper, you can just take 2 sheets, you blow your nose, and you put it in the toilet and flush it.
And that's that.
And that's that. Buy toilet paper.
Can you now, let's bring the newspapers into this. You know, when I saw the first fight on WhatsApp about toilet paper, I thought, you know, the newspapers are going to be having a field day. You remember those days?
Yeah,
with their unsold copies?
No. You don't want to. I mean, we're not living in England where you put fish and chips in newspaper.
Right. So
and they did that for years, eh?
Yeah.
And they say the fish and the chip tastes better in newspaper than it did in other forms of paper.
I thoroughly enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's COVID-19, George.
That's COVID-19. And finally, apparently in Australia, one newspaper has decided, okay, their regular publication, let's say 20 pages, they're producing 28 pages.
Blank.
I
like that. That's social consciousness. I love that. That is interesting. That's their contribution.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Sounds good.
So Brian, tell me now, what's up your sleeve?
George, there's a lot happening.
Yeah,
This COVID-19 is creating, this is the first, let's call it a health shock that we are experiencing in the Caribbean. And for the islands like Grenada that have become heavily dependent on tourism, it's a test.
Mm-hmm.
It's a major test as to whether or not we're going to withstand and whether or not our direction into tourism, total tourism, is well founded. We have not spent enough time on agriculture and or manufacturing and or some other industries. We spent a lot of time and effort into tourism. The direction of the monies from CBI is into tourism. And we're going to get to that a little bit later on. But if we withstand this shock, and George, I listened to the Prime Minister today, and a lot of stuff went through my mind. Okay, we're going to shut down schools for 2 weeks. What are the parents of these children, George, that we are going to be sending home for 2 weeks? Are they working? How are they going to care for the kids?
Yeah.
Yes? Could they afford not to work, given that a lot of people are now working on contract? And who is going to subsidize their time at home? Are we going to help them with babysitting arrangements? Are we setting up care for these children at home? There are a lot of questions that we have to answer. If we get a problem with cruise ships not calling, how do we explain this to the vendors who may have stocked up for a season, given a list of cruise ship calls that they would have received at the beginning of the season and stocked for the season? Yeah? All the people who have built rental apartments in the south of the island, and the SGU decision is creating some waves and some false rumors about the closure of the school. The school is not closing. The school is offering the students an option.
Yeah.
Our healthcare service is not the best in the world, George. Grenadians have been complaining for months now about what's happening at the hospital. So I don't know that the school wants the responsibility of one of its students contracting this virus and have to be quarantined in Grenada and go through the healthcare process here. Yes? So there's a lot that we have to manage in the next 2 weeks, and none of it is good. You know, at the end of the Prime Minister's speech today, I was kind of looking forward to hear him talk about how government is going to help the economic impact on the ordinary Grenadian citizen. In other words, this is March. There are a lot of taxes due on the 31st of March. There's VAT due on the 15th, on Monday. Are we going to delay or tell the people, listen, we're going to delay some of these payments that you have to make, just in case you have to incur some other expenses? I did not hear any of those things, George.
And I hope you're not holding your breath, Brian, because I understand the point you're making, but Brian, let me tell you that.
But these are issues that we have to discuss.
Exactly. But Brian, them guys desperate for money right now.
Well, I know that. And I'm hearing him at the end of this broadcast talking about a conversation that we are having with the IMF and whoever else, whatever donor agency. So we're going to beg for some money to help us through this process. Yes? But we cannot delay the collection of taxes from people who may have a cash flow problem because we need the money. So we find ourselves between a rock and a hard place, you know. But there are a lot of people that will need help, George, in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And I don't know if government is in a position to help.
Well, it's going to help to make us a little bit more self-sufficient, I believe.
But, you know, I am not sure that we're getting the science, though, George. And this is why I keep reminding myself that why don't we have a CARICOM response to this issue? For example, I understand that the virus does not survive well in the heat. Now, I don't know that for a fact.
I am
hearing
contrary to that.
I am hearing this, by the way, that it will take up, the virus might die quicker in the tropics than it would in, let's say, North America at this time of year. If that is true, why not tell us? Well, and that can justify the quarantine. That can justify a lot of decisions that we're making.
Maybe that's because it's not. Because I did hear this rumor some time ago, but then somebody came out and rebutted that by saying that, look, how could that be true when today in Singapore the temperature is 31 degrees Celsius, which is like 88, and they have an issue.
Yes. We see, we're not getting the information that we need to make the decisions that we need to make from the authorities. I mean, that speech today was talking mainly about what government is doing to implement the social distance program by closing the schools, etc., etc., etc. But I don't know if that's helping us to deal with the issue. I mean, did we talk about the place that we're going to quarantine people? I haven't heard that.
Well, yes, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Health at a post-cabinet briefing this week, I think it was, they explained that they're not going to identify the quarantine locations.
Okay.
They're not. And they explained the reason why. You know, Grenadians are curious. They're going to go out there and then they're going to go out snooping to see who did.
Yeah, okay. That's a good decision. Yeah.
And two, I mean, some people may panic if they found out that there's a quarantine unit right in the neighborhood.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
So,
those are all good decisions.
Yeah.
But George, the question remains: is it here already?
Yes.
I mean, we've had flights over the last weekend, Virgin, I understand, and British Airways coming out of Europe. You know, coming out of England. Now, I wonder if any of those passengers may have been carrying the virus or would have carried the virus. I don't know. You know, are we doing adequate testing? Do we have the kits to do the adequate testing, or are we still taking the samples and sending them to Trinidad and getting a quick response from Trinidad? Yeah. So there are more questions, George, and I believe people are panicking because they don't have answers to those questions. This is why they're panic buying.
And not just the panic buying, but I think it's also giving rise to a lot of the rumors that you see in social media, but you don't know social media anymore because you're gone. Listen, speaking about social media, let me get to social media here. Ryan says buffering. Yeah, Ryan, boy, don't tell me Corona is taking us back to the good old days. But anyhow, I see that we're having some flashing here, which means that there is buffering taking place. Okay, hold on. Margaret Francis says, thanks, Ryan, and thought of us on my end. Well, it looks like it might be all over because I'm seeing the same issue we had last night. Anthirello says, classes are suspended here for the next 2 weeks. So that's in Atlanta. So I guess the PM is doing the same. Okay. I don't think the PM had anything to do with what's happening down at SGU. Margaret says, Brian, there is no signs to support that claim. There are a host of these crazy rumors going around together with a whole pile of fantastic home remedies. Man, listen, I've seen some concoctions. I've seen some concoction. I think I'd rather die. Let Corona take me than have to drink or eat some of the stuff I've seen.
You see, there lies the problem, George. Yes, they're closing schools in Atlanta, they're closing schools in Toronto, they're closing schools in New York, but there are support systems in those places for the closure of schools. Do we have the support systems in Grenada?
No.
And that's my concern. I mean, how many parents are going to be in trouble next week from Monday because they have no place to leave their kids, and they have to, if they stay home with their children, they probably won't get paid because they may be on contract. And if that happens, George, how are they going to feed the kids? You know, we have to put ourselves in the shoes of these people. What does a single mother of 3 do with her 3 kids home for 2 weeks? And if we can't answer those questions, George, we're in trouble.
Okay, Brian, I understand that. But I think some of the onus also has to fall on us. Come hell or high water, we're not going to be able to get the government to do everything we want them to do, even in normal times. Look at the state of our healthcare system. So you're talking Corona now on top of that joke you're making.
That is true, but it's a test, it's a shock that we have to overcome because of this one-dimensional economy that we have. And we allowed a lot of employers to put employees on contract over time, George. And we didn't take note of that. Yeah, okay, we made a lot of noise about employees not being able to go to the bank and get a loan because they were on contract. But this is a test. Because in the next 2 weeks, they're going to have to stay home with their kids. And if they have to stay home with their kids, most of them probably would not be paid.
You know, Brian, you're talking about tests. I am convinced that when this virus clears up, when this thing goes away, if it ever does, you know, I think our lifestyles are going to be totally different. One of the things I would really like to see, a positive thing that I'd like to see come out of this, is a lot more attention being paid to agriculture. You know, there's so much focus on tourism, like you were saying. But somebody pointed out on my WhatsApp forum the other day, come hell or high water, we have to eat. What are you going to do, eat tourists? No, people have to eat. So we need to start focusing on agriculture, and hopefully this will get some people thinking.
One of the problems we are facing, George, with this tourism sector is not too many of the jobs in the tourism sector are sustainable, you know. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of jobs at SGU that are sustainable jobs, whether it's in tech or whatever other aspect of employment at SGU. But I don't know how many jobs in the tourism sector are sustainable jobs. There are waiters, there are waitresses, there are cooks, there are bartenders, and you can name them, the list goes on and on. But, you know, bartenders come a dime a dozen. Yes, you get the good ones that are elite bartenders, but we are not spending enough time and money and our resources on food, you know? But this virus, George, is going to cause us some headache in the next few months. Because we don't have to close our shows, our shows, you know. We don't have to close the airport. People just won't come. Because a lot of people are not traveling. They are advised not to travel from North America, but for essential services. Yeah? If you have to travel, travel. But it should not be travel for vacation. So tourism is going to suffer. Yes?
You are pretty deeply involved in the cruise industry. You have a shop. Oh, excuse me.
Yes.
You've given up.
But the cruise industry, you see, at the beginning of the season, a lot of the vendors, people will take stock, they will look at the list, George, and they will look at the list at the potential capacity of the ships that is coming to Grenada. Yeah? It has nothing to do with the actual number on board.
Right.
And they will shop to suit. They will take goods on credit to suit. So at this point in the year, they probably would have been able to pay for half the goods already. If the season is going to be affected at the end of June, May or June, a lot of these people are going to be owing a lot of money.
I published something on my website last night about the cruise lines. I think it's a company called Cruise Hive, a publication called Cruise Hive, and they were saying that the cruise lines have started to cancel their calls.
You see, all right.
I think Princess is first and foremost, but then they had some misuse themselves.
One of the issues we have with the cruise industry is that a lot of the staff from the Philippines, the Caribbean, Mexico, etc., yeah? This is the people that serve the passengers. And a lot of these larger ships, if you carry 3,000 passengers, 1,500, 2,000 might be crew.
Yeah.
But the crew is from places like Philippines, the Caribbean, etc. Now, a lot of these people are coming back home. I understand that there might be a number of Grenadians who are working in the cruise industry that might be on their way back home. Huh? If that is so, then how are we going to deal with this thing?
Brian, hold on a sec, because somebody made a comment to that effect earlier on. Hold on, I really want to get it. Ashton Fletcher says, greetings from Louisville, Kentucky. It's been a while. What's going on with any type of test for the coronavirus? With all these workers from the cruise ships returning home, what kind of precautions are being taken to prevent any type of community spreading?
I was looking at a documentary of the Philippines last night, I think it was, George, and I you know, if all the workers on these cruise ships go back home into the Philippines, they will have a serious problem. And we're going to also have a problem in the Caribbean, a lot of these people coming home. Now, we have to hope that none of them have affected the virus. But it should be a concern.
Okay, somebody here is thinking outside of the box, not thinking about Corona, but thinking about today. What's today? March 13th. You know what today is?
Oh yes.
Yeah?
Oh yes.
Anthony Langan says today we're remembering the overthrowing of Geary.
Yes, George.
Yeah.
March 13th.
He goes...
I hope we have a chance to comment on that before the end of the evening.
You have all the time you want, my friend. Lydia James says, oh my gosh, this is something else. Sad state of affairs. Boy, this whole thing is sad. She says, I'm coming home to do some babysitting. You know Lydia James?
No.
I think Lydia used to work at the MBIA. She seems to be spending a lot of time in Canada now.
Okay, she's coming home to
do some babysitting. Brian's looking for a babysitter.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Margaret Francis says, Brian, the same issues are confronting people in New York. There is pressure on the mayor to close the schools, and he is resisting for the same reasons you raise. Child care and a lot of people will not be paid as well. Contrary to what people think, there are thousands who work here and do not get paid sick time.
And you know, America has a problem that is going to be difficult for them. America has a healthcare system that is based on how much money you have, huh, George? and if Trump believes that he is out of the woods with this thing, he's sadly mistaken, you know, because there are a lot of people that cannot afford to get tested in the United States of America. Because once you go into the emergency hospital, the bill starts to run, and a lot of people have gone bankrupt in the United States for their health, you know. America would have a serious problem if this virus ever gets loose on the shores of America, because the majority of people in America, I think it might be as high as 20%, do not have adequate health care.
Tell me something, Brian. How do they test for the virus?
Well, they are manufacturing tests right now. America has not tested 10% of the people that they have tested in China and Singapore and these other places. You know, they are very short in supply of the tests themselves. Well,
they take blood, or
I'm not a physician, Joe, so I wouldn't get into that.
Okay, hold on a second, folks. If any of you out there know how these tests are done, please let me know. I hate needles, and the thought of somebody going in and take some blood just...
But yeah, they can take a swab and either put it up your nose, down your throat, or whatever. You know, there are some discomfort involved in the testing procedure, I believe.
But still, I don't mind you putting a swab up my nose, but I did see a video.
It just goes up your nose and goes down the back of your throat, you know. George, just doesn't go up your nose. They push it for as far as it can go.
It's a nasal colonoscopy.
Something like that. That sounds good.
Yeah.
You should be a doctor.
Yeah. Now, hold on a sec here. Nicole Gittens says, in other countries, retired doctors and nurses and medical students have been called out to give backup support because managing the sick takes its toll.
Yes. And if we ever have a problem, listen, I think I told you about the incident a few weeks ago with a friend of mine who should have had surgery on a Sunday, went to the hospital, and there were no beds. Listen, we have a problem with beds at the General Hospital right now, I believe. Yeah? If anybody knows differently, they can correct me. If we have a problem with the virus, with COVID-19 in Grenada, where are we going to put these patients? And if, for example, the hospital is full and we have to use St. Augustine, who's going to pay for those beds? See, there are a lot of questions that we have to answer, George. We just can't make these arbitrary decisions. And I don't know that the World Bank and the IMF is going to bail us out of this thing overnight, you know. These projects will take time, and we have to tick all the boxes. I mean, these funding agencies don't just give money away. And there are a lot of countries that will be knocking at the door right now for some of those same funds.
Yeah. Margaret?
No, hold on, just before you get to Margaret. The world is now talking about a possible recession, eh?
Yes, well.
Which is going to complicate the issue even further.
Yeah.
As far as us getting funding to bail us out of some of the decisions that we are now taking.
Messy times ahead, Brian.
Very messy.
Margaret is responding to Nicole by saying, she says, I heard New York's governor make a similar call this morning. Ryan says nasal and throat swabbing, Gigi. Massager Phillip says, Mashida Phillip, hello there, Mashida, good to see you, girl. Mashida says, testing is done by referrals from your doctor in America. They are advising individuals not to go to the hospital or the doctor offices directly. Yeah, I've heard that. They're asking people, because you're not feeling well, just don't walk into a hospital and say, I'm sick.
It's costly.
Yeah.
Listen, you cannot, as an average American citizen, go into any emergency department in any hospital, you know. There are selective hospitals for people to use the emergency, you know.
Yeah.
The health system in America leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
And I don't know why people keep supporting politicians that want to destroy, that disagree with health care for all is a good thing.
That elusive dream, I guess is what you may call it.
It's all about money.
Ryan says, yes, USA retired registered nurses are asking to come back. Can you believe that?
The problem there is a lot of people who are retired, George, might be in the vulnerable group. Because don't forget, older people and the young people are those people that are considered most vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So although you might have a lot of retired people that want to come back and help, they might be over 60, 70. You know, so and they have the knowledge, they can help, but they might be at high risk.
So you're trying to tell me I'm high risk, Brian? Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
We're both at high risk, George.
Yeah. Ricardo Keynes Douglas says, the bishop in Toronto has just canceled all church services and has given the elderly permission to stay away from Mass until things improve.
Yes. I think the Pope has made certain decisions in Rome also about caring for the elderly and the sick, and hoping that he can get some priests to go out and visit them.
Yeah. Nicole says, so, due to the high costs, many in the U.S. will avoid testing.
Yes. And if they avoid testing, which is the problem they're having, they don't know the extent of the problem. If people are not getting tested because of the cost, you do not know what the extent of the problem that you have.
Okay, Mr. Pitt, somebody here, actually I think you're your friend, maybe not anymore. Margaret. Margaret says, that is incorrect, Brian. All emergency departments must accept patients when they come in. That is the law. Familiarize yourself with EMTALA.
Okay, Margaret could be right. But once you get into the emergency, the bill will start to run. Who pays? Is it free? Maybe Margaret can answer that. Once you go into the emergency and they start to treat you, who pays? I believe there are some hospitals that if you cannot prove you have health insurance in the United States of America, they probably leave you on a bed in the hallway. Margaret,
Margaret?
you guys have a problem in the US of A. And you continue to argue that universal health care is not American.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it, girl. Okay, Brian, let me tell you, you and I could go on all night, but
Yes.
we got to make way for the national report. And by the way, I think the national report is going to touch on the Prime Minister's address today, so you may want to stick around and watch that. But I want to sneak a couple more comments in here. Anthony DeRids is asking, any update on the person who tested positive in St. Lucia? I didn't know St. Lucia got one as well. Do you know
No,
that?
I have no update on that. I understand that St. Vincent also has a
St.
positive
Vincent
case.
has, Guyana has. Actually, I think Guyana had a death, didn't they?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Watch that communion cup. Churches are closing in New York City, says Ryan. They cannot refuse you an emergency, but the bills will come later, says Ricardo Keynes Douglas.
But these are, yes, the bill will come later. You see, the situation is very fluid, George. It changes almost by the minute. Especially in the Caribbean, where you can do a test and you have to send it somewhere else to get the result. So the situation will keep changing almost by the hour.
Listen to this one is kind of freaky, and I hope she's wrong. Nicole says the calculated cost is $1,131 US for the test. 1,100. Well, I did already.
I've heard some numbers.
Whoa!
In the United States of America, and that's going to be a problem for the United States of America. So Trump can can say no, close his airport to Europeans, but I think he has a bigger problem inside the United States, not coming into the United States.
Margaret says, Brian, I work in the emergency department of a top hospital. I know. Nicole says, 4,000, wait a minute, 4,000 US if you're sent to the ICU.
I lost my case a long time ago in America and the healthcare system, you know.
Margaret says, healthcare is not free anywhere, even in Grenada. What you think is free is not. Somebody has to pay for it. In this case, the taxpayers are Grenada.
Well, you see, Margaret has become Americanized, huh? She's also convinced.
Take a swab, Margaret.
Okay, you see, people don't mind paying a little bit at a time, George, if you have access when you need it. And that's what universal healthcare is about, you know. If you have access when you need it. So most countries that are now being tested by COVID-19 have decent healthcare systems and able to get and keep good records of who is infected and who dies. America is having a difficult time trying to figure out who is now infected, because a lot of people are not getting tested because they cannot afford to get tested. And that is dangerous.
Here's something that's scary as well. Ricardo Keynes Douglas, he says, St. Lucia has a case, and according to the information, that person spent a good few days in Grenada.
I don't want to talk about the Grenada situation until the powers that be make information public. But I believe that we should be a little concerned that we're not getting an up-to-date count in Grenada of people that are infested, or people who are sick, or people who are quarantined.
Okay. I think we're going to wrap it up here with and you better watch it. There's a threat from Margaret.
Yeah?
Yeah. Margaret says, BP, I'm going to get you on my next trip to Grenada.
I would love to have this discussion with Margaret.
Brian, be prepared to be swabbed by Margaret. All right, folks, I think we need to get to the national report. So just let Georgie Porgy take a quick break here, and we'll come back.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
If you wanna check the Grand Lac balance on your phone, or report a faulty line near your home, if there is an emergency, take out your phone. These are 3 numbers that you should know. 237. Call me anytime, I'm always on the line. 237. Just call me anytime, I'm always on the line. 237.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Co-op Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank, and there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Schools in Grenada to be closed for 2 weeks in the first instance from Monday. We'll have details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Friday, March 13th, I am Rakisha St. Louis. All schools will be closed and visits to senior citizens' homes suspended as Grenada continues to monitor the spread of the coronavirus in neighboring islands. During an address to the nation on Friday, Prime Minister Dr. The Right Honorable Keith Mitchell announced the measures that Grenada will undertake to safeguard the population against COVID-19. As of Monday, March 16th, schools will be closed for 2 weeks. Teachers have been called on to work from home. His address was delivered just 1 day after meeting with key stakeholders at the Grenada Trade Center.
All schools in Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique will be closed for 2 weeks in the first instance as a necessary precaution against the contracting or spread of COVID-19. Furthermore, teachers have been asked to work from home from next Wednesday, March 18. Educators and administrators are asked to report to schools on Monday and Tuesday, March 16th and 17th, to prepare all relevant materials needed to work remotely.
It is known that children and the elderly are the most at-risk groups, therefore visits to the senior citizens' homes will be suspended until further notice.
It is paramount that we protect as much as possible all citizens, particularly our elderly, as they are the most susceptible to die in this outbreak. As we can all recall, the sad events in the nursing home in Washington, when 29 elderly persons were the first recorded deaths in the United States. We are taking no chances and making no gambles on people's lives. In this regard, therefore, effective immediately, all visits to elderly nursing homes will be suspended until further notice. Those who are receiving at-home care are to exercise extreme caution. We encourage the general population, especially the elderly, to continue to exercise an abundance of caution in every practice, to protect yourselves and your families.
According to Dr. Mitchell, social distancing is the new term in the fight against the virus. He says all social gatherings will be suspended.
We are therefore requesting that all public and other social gatherings, such as cultural, religious, and sporting events, cinemas, and other places that people gather, that cannot guarantee a minimum of 6 feet of social distances, be further suspended until further notice.
Dr. Mitchell gave the assurance that the Ministry of Health will continue to lead all efforts and will disseminate updates as necessary. The National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA, has already been activated in coordination with the Ministry of Health and the National Coordinator of COVID-19, Dr. George Mitchell. The government of Grenada will continue to monitor the developments related to the virus and will review decisions as more information and updates are made available. The Ministry of Health is stepping up its efforts for Spice Mass 2020 to penalize individuals who do not comply with the law with regards to food handling and preparation. Chief Environmental Health Officer Andre Worm stressed the importance of being certified to prepare and sell food during festive events. He said for years the ministry has been working with vendors to produce badges and certificates to give consumers the assurance that the food is being prepared in accordance with good hygienic practices.
Persons in Grenada and the rest of the world can be assured that when they come to Grenada that they will be presented with safe food. And that will be a major, major concern, has been a major concern for us at the Ministry of Health. And so we want to implore on all persons, all the partners, all the vendors, particularly street food vendors, we want you to adhere to all the messaging directed from the Ministry of Health. We would also want to implore, again, all the food businesses or restaurants, ensure that all your food handlers are medically certified, and also that there is the adoption of very good, safe sanitary practices.
He said the ministry will be working with the Royal Grenada Police Force to stop any vendor who is not certified or unauthorized to sell food during events.
In addition to your medical certificate, we would seek to ensure that some measure of a permit is being granted in the form of a food badge. And we will be enforcing that. As many of you would know, in a recent event, for example, Karakou Carnival, there would have been environmental health officers who were on the beat, on the streets, and they would be looking for persons who do not comply with the law. And we were going to ask the RGPF for support in having you discontinue your service.
Mr. Warm explained that the division will stage its annual food handler certification workshop before the end of June 2020 so that persons desirous of selling can register with the Spice Mass Corporation.
I recognize from the SMC that they are going to be registering vendors starting June 16 to 19. So, and I understand having the requisite medical certificates and food handling certificate will be a prerequisite. So it means that we're going to possibly accommodate this registration process. Generally, we have been doing that in the middle of July, so it means that we would have to reschedule and come up a little bit earlier. So we will try to facilitate this schedule.
This is the National Report. We'll have more news after the break.
Grenada's #1 track and field event is back. The Inter-Secondary School Championships is back at the Karani James Athletic Stadium. You must be there. Experience the intense rivalry between athletes of our secondary schools on the track and in the field. Blame yourself if you missed the first ever Republic Bank sponsored Intercall 2020. Blame yourself if you miss a day of exciting action on the track. Be there every day, day 1, 2, and 3. The 53rd Intercall Championships takes place on March 31st, April 1st, and 2nd, starting at 9 a.m. each day. Come, let's celebrate the inaugural Republic Bank Intercall. Come out, families. Come out, past students. Come out, school-based supporters for the return of competition on the track and in the field, because Intercall is back.
Welcome back. MacDonald College now has its own music studio, a project that will be taken to other parishes. $25,000 was allocated for construction of the studio. The project, which is implemented by the Ministry of Youth Division, Sports, Culture and the Arts, started in 2018. During Wednesday's opening ceremony, Parliamentary Representative for St. Patrick West, Honorable Anthony Boson, endorsed the project, which is aimed at encouraging students' participation in music.
As a parish, and I hope no one will contradict me here, we have produced more cultural icons on a per capita basis than any other parish in the Tri-Island state. And therefore, for me, as a parliamentary representative for one half of the parish of St. Patrick, it is a signal honor to be associated with and to give my full endorsement of this very noble and worthwhile initiative.
Minister Boson further highlighted the importance of the new development.
This is important for two main reasons I want to highlight. First, from a biblical and psychological perspective, it is said that music is the food of the soul. And therefore, if we are to produce good souls or good citizens, then our people, and primarily our young people, must be fed a diet of good music. Music influences behavior, especially the behavior of our youth. Positive music, or music with positive message, will definitely influence behavior in a positive direction.
Minister for Youth Development, Culture and the Arts, Senator Norland Cox, is hopeful that the music studio will create avenues for youth.
We recognize that there is immense opportunities in the area of the creative industry. Opportunities for persons to create a livelihood, new careers. We are not asking persons to shy away from the traditional areas like doctor, teachers, whatever the case may be. But we believe that there is significant value in the creative industry, in that persons can make a livelihood. You can have a career as an engineer, and we have here two gentlemen who have a career as artists, as performing artists. So this can be done, and it can be done successfully. What we are doing as government is that we are facilitating, we are creating the environment for persons who have that desire to do so successfully. And hence the reason why we are doing this project and many other initiatives.
Principal of the MacDonald College, Carl Andel, expresses his heartfelt appreciation to the government for their interest in not only the youth, but the parish of St. Patrick on a whole.
I must give special thanks here this morning to thank the Ministry of Culture, Senator Cox, for having the vision, recognizing the fact that we are the mecca for culture and starting here. So I must give special thanks to Senator Cox and the Ministry of Culture. We also must give special thanks to Honorable Anthony Boson. This building here, I want to rename it and call it the Anthony Boson's Wing, because he was very instrumental in we receiving this building after we were on the pipeline for more than 20 years or more. So as I said, I'm excited. I know currently at school, there's a lot of budding artists at school. We have some in here this morning who is already gracing the stage in soca, calypso, or such.
Here is a highlight of a student's music rendition.
Every time we touch on the stage, everybody knows. We come to mash up the place and shell it down with it. I want to take out your rag and turn it on with it. Because we come to take the crown. Turn the rag, turn the flag, turn the rag, turn the flag. Make your rag explode, make your flag explode, make your rag explode.
That story just ended the national report for today, Friday, March 13th. Let's recap the top story. Schools in Grenada to be closed for 2 weeks in the first instance from Monday. On behalf of the entire news team here at the Government Information Service, I am Rikisha St. Louis saying thank you for joining us. Until next time.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy.
To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal.
When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility. COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy.
To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal.
When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
Alrighty, folks, just about time to pull the curtain down on a Friday evening. Looking forward to the weekend. Certainly hope we have some good weather. And I'm going to be curious. Tomorrow I'm going to take a run downtown and watch some of the panic buying that's taking place down there. My dear friends, we're going to put it down tonight and extend an invitation to you now. Let me tell you what, something happened in the past few minutes that I really want to share with you. Remember earlier on tonight, when I was doing the rundown, I mentioned that Alan Baczynski, Brian Pitt and I were going to talk about the situation with Grenada, you know, these consultations being put on by the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. And Brian had some stuff to say about Grand Lake. But we got so wrapped up with Corona that we didn't. Well, guess what? Brian, he's just left here. A few minutes ago, we were sitting here talking. And I called Alan because Alan has been very vocal about what's been happening with these consultations, and especially the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. And these two gentlemen have actually agreed to come and sit here on Sunday morning. Sunday morning, 11 o'clock, Sunday morning. Let me tell you, that is going to be a zinger. So please, be sure to join us. And then, of course, weekday mornings next week, we'll be with you, God willing. You have a great weekend, my dear friends, and may the good Lord bless and keep you. And remember, trust in Him with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding, but in everything that you do, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. Good night.